Good evening and welcome to Let's Drone Out episode 261. This week we have Curry Kitten.
Hello.
We have Tony.
Bonjour.
We have NJ.
Hey guys.
And we have Stephen from Airspeeder. Hi Stephen.
Hello.
I'm Frank. We've got Stephen on this week to talk about Airspeeder. So we'll definitely dive into that in a bit. We've had some questions through from listeners because we mentioned it on the.
So sorry.
Oh, Tony.
5
years I've been doing this. 5 years.
I normally shout at other people. I apologize. I'm just going to mute myself and hold my head down for a minute.
Well, before you go, Tony.
If it helps, I did it as well, Tony, but you couldn't hear mine.
We need some kind of hat that you have to wear. Everyone has one, and then that person has to put it on.
Oh God, I muted everything. Right. Anyway, that was a 15-second delay.
Well done.
Sorry, Frank.
Tony, as you've spoken up, what have you been doing over the past week? Have you been flying anything?
No.
It's me neither. It's been naff weather. We've cursed the nice weather too much, and it's now gone away, and it's now winter for the rest of the year. I think
I did fly actually. I lied. I flew at Croydon Airport.
Ooh.
Where the Spitfires used to take off, and done a little shot of that. Well, it was Quadtopia 4, but it didn't really happen. So we ran out of a place to go. So Rich hosted it. So we went to Croydon Airport, flew our drones there. And then went back to his and flew some more drones around his garden.
Nice.
Yeah, it was quite good. Well, I didn't know they turned. That was a Spitfire and Hurricane point where they used to take off in Croydon Airport. Because there's a turning circle still left in the tarmac.
I think back in the day, they'd take Spitfires off anywhere they had a Spitfire.
Yeah,
which was everywhere.
It was everywhere. Yeah, so I did fly. I was lying. Sorry. And I mucked up the thingy.
We've been quite lucky here, actually. That I'm constantly checking the live weather radar to see exactly how it was very interesting the other day. Obviously, with the Storm Francis sailing up and hammering Manchester and watching the rotation of everything. But for the while it's been really volatile, luckily everything has either been ever so slightly north or ever so slightly south of where I am in Bedfordshire. And yeah, I've actually had some, apart from that day, that wasn't flying weather. That was stay indoors weather. But yeah, I've actually managed to do a bit of flying because somehow most of the bad weather's missed where I am.
Yeah, that's good. It was really
sorry
windy.
everyone else.
It was really windy on Saturday. I think it was gusts of about 40 miles an hour or something.
I think we had it as high as, because we were right on the edge, the outer edge of the rotation, and it was anywhere up to about 55 here. It was pretty brutal.
It was.
And the question is, NJ, have you been following these storms to see whether you can fly FPV, or have you just been chasing the live weather in Microsoft Flight Simulator?
I might have already tried to spot the odd storm and then go flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator to see if it... Now, interestingly, the weather patterns the systems are there. You can fly up, the systems appear, they're on the weather radar in the Garmin 1000. You can look at it and go, if your plane's got the weather radar, it's there. But they haven't really properly modeled in the storms as such. So they have a storm model, which is very good, but it's not. I was in
Texas in it tonight, isn't it? I think really bad storm up there.
Yeah, I think I did try initially going into. What's the name of the one? Is it Laura? Isn't it? Is the name of the latest nasty one out there? I did fly into that, but the wind speeds were like 4 or 5 mile an hour, and that wasn't what the weather radar was showing. So definitely wasn't that, but I'm sure it'll improve.
Mm. And Curry, I saw you were starting up again on the code on your simulator, on your Instagram.
Yes, we had a whole... I tried to make Wednesday a coding day. It ended up between 2 and 5, so I managed to get 3 hours in of doing some stuff. But we got some stuff done. We mainly the UIs and talking to the back end of the network stuff. So I could make rules to say you're allowed a quad in here or you're allowed anything in here, and then people's decisions about what they wanted in there. Now I just need to actually put the physical models in there for next time, which may be next week, hopefully. I'm getting a bit snowed under because of this weather. As a mostly reviewer, for some reason suddenly everything turned up at once. So I had like 10 packages through the post, which like 5 are ready to fly, and I can't do anything with them. So I'm a bit stuffed at the moment. Just sort of sat here twiddling my thumbs. Boom.
Oh, fingers crossed for some decent weather to catch up on your reviews. Have you got any reviews hanging around, NJ?
Have I got any
reviews or to
any
do?
review? Yes. Yes, I do have reviews to do. I've got the big stack of reviews I need to get done. One of which I did get a Tango 2 from Wayne over at TBS, which I need to do a deep dive on and pull apart and what have you, which I promised I would, because the last one was it did very well. And then I've got some stuff from True RC. Do you know True RC? I think I put them in touch with you,
They're
Curry,
antennas
at some point.
or something. Are they an antenna? No, True RC.
Possibly. They do lots of little weird bits and pieces, but they decided they wanted to make to get on board the micro toothpicky 3-inch class, so that they're actually making their own flight controller and frame. And they've been, do you know what, of all the people that I've had feedback with, you know, my stories about trying to help Easheen back in the day and just having all ends like losing hair, tearing hair out with them. Mainly because they ask you for feedback, and by the time you give the feedback, they've already put it into production. True RC have actually been really receptive to criticism, and they keep sending back new versions of frames, making various modifications. So they're working on a little toothpicky thing. They've got their own F7 flight controller. So yeah, there's a few bits and pieces that I need to get going on quite soon, really. But yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I've seen a few messages in the chat because it was another event at Laxton last weekend, as Kelsey told us last week. And Dave Story, he looks like he did quite well. Got second in the lower final. So
well done, Dave.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, which brings us nice and neatly onto racing, because Stephen is here this week to talk about, you know, some slightly bigger racing than the 5-inch quads that you might see at
bigger
Laxton.
than this too.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, bigger than Tony's X Class. And
damn it.
Everyone kind of, when they first see the X Class go up, maybe goes and finds something to go and dive behind, because it's a fairly big and scary kind of thing to be.
It makes a
around the place.
A nice noise.
It does make a nice noise.
I bet your ones make a bit better noise.
Yeah. A lot louder.
I bet.
Yeah, because the company you're working with, Airspeeder, so they've got this whole vision for like pushing the technology of drones and drone racing, right? Yeah.
So for anyone that's not heard of Airspeeder, and then we go into a little bit of a spiel. Airspeeder is flying car racing series. So, you know, large drones. We call them speeders. They are huge. A 3-seater couch, if you can put it into perspective. In the future they'll be piloted, but right now we're building the competition element. We're building the vehicles themselves, and it's all centered around, you know, pushing that technology. It's all centered around advancing the science behind it, because we're sat on a huge industry around eVTOL and drones and technology and everything that goes into it. So yeah, there's quite a lot happening.
We're talking about flying cars. It's
I was
future
going
is
to
now.
ask very specifically.
We love it. We
Did you
just
call them?
roll that out with everything. It's great.
I get the flying cars as sort of perhaps a sort of layperson's viewpoint. It might be easier, but was that it? It wasn't a sort of deliberate thing to say they're not drones, they're flying cars.
Our audience sits on, speaking between us, our audience sits between, traditional drone fans, pop culture, technology fans, and motorsport fans. So, that whole Venn diagram we're playing around in. So, yes, they're large drones. They're also, flying vehicles. They're also a new form of urban mobility transportation. All of this technology is going to be going into a multitude of different sectors at the end of the day.
Yeah, redundancy would be my main thing.
My sort of whole sort of angle as head of media is pushing, pop culture, motorsport, and drone racing as our key audience. The science and the technology behind it, the manufacturing side of things, it is urban mobility, it is future mobility, and drone technology, absolutely. But yeah, I love banging that drum about flying cars.
Yeah, man. I would.
I wondered if the speeder was any kind of reference to Star Wars, as in land speeder. I don't know if that has any weight.
It does. Honestly, it does, NJ. Like the problem with speeders in Star Wars, I'm going to get on my high horse here. The problem with that is that they just go on a straight line across the desert floor. There's no change of that. We've
got deserts in Bedford.
Yeah, in the films they literally go across the desert floor, and ours are going to be designed to go up the side of mountains, down the side into gullies. It's going to be banking. So yeah, I mean, absolutely going to be called speeders, and we do take a huge amount of respect and direction from Star Wars, but yeah, we feel that they can do even more.
Marvelous. And what sort of have you been in? I presume there's been some pretty exciting testing that's been going on. I don't know how much you can talk about, but what sort of things can you tell us? Have anyone stepped in one yet? Or
that really? So we're building a global testing program at the moment. So multiple locations. Think Extreme E, if you're following the sort of Extreme E story about global locations and global races and global testing in various different, in different places. So not Bedfordshire. That's definitely not going to happen. Might do eventually, but I think we're going to be going into various different types of locations. We're going to be in the desert in Coober Pedy towards the end of September, beginning of October now, COVID, to do quite a bit, but we then aim to go abroad and do quite a few adventure testing.
Fantastic.
Can you tell us anything about the sort of tech in the sort of the current ones you've got? Because from the outside, we can see how you just sort of blow up bigger motors, bigger ESCs. But then I think, well, you're probably not going to be running it on like a little flight controller. Are you developing your own stuff here, or is there some off-the-shelf products that you're able to utilize and customize?
A bit of both. So I won't get into the details of it because we have to keep our secret sauce. But if you think of it like F1, because we're building a racing series here, so we want to encourage teams to come in. We want to encourage technical partners. We're about to sign an F1 technical partner in the next few days and announce it in the next week or two. So keep your eyes peeled for that. A big name as well in the game. So yeah, we want to become a platform for testing. We want to become a partner to these companies as well, and iterate and constantly push. So we want to be that platform.
Yeah, because we were saying when we were talking a couple of weeks ago, you were saying So that with the teams that you're looking to get on board, probably what will be happening is that they'll be taking the sort of main core of what you've been developing and as the kind of stock airframe, and then adding their own kind of secret sauce onto it as well, won't they? Is that the idea?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Lauda, they're manufacturing the speeders themselves, which is the sister partner company who build the frames and the stock, let's say. And then, yes, each of the teams will then come in and provide their own, their own elements to it. And we want to encourage that as much as possible, because that's how change happens. And we don't want to restrict. You must use our stock completely, and there's only a finite amount that can change. That's not going to help the industry. That's not going to help science and tech move forward. So yeah, we want innovative companies coming in to add their hardware and software into it, and they keep pushing the boundaries.
Absolutely, and Shiny Video stuff in the chat as well says, considering how much F1 did for the automotive industry in terms of technology development from the 1940s onwards, this promises to really fast track consumer manned vehicles.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's we really do feel that we're at that start of a new form of mobility. With the industry sat on, I think that there was the recent study that the mobility sector, the urban mobility sector is worth 1.5 trillion, and you've got big players like Uber in air taxis. You've got Hyundai, similar. You've also got big names playing around in this. So yeah, I mean, we're sort of at that forefront of defining what that new motor sport is, and I think it's hugely exciting. And yeah, we do see ourselves as pioneers. We absolutely do. And yeah, it's harking back to the Henry Fords. I mean, that's saying something. But these are new forms of travel that we're producing. It's the new air horse. Don't quote me on that. That's horrible. But, the new unicorn of travel. We don't have rainbows coming out the back of it though. But it's super exciting.
Yeah, I imagine also just thinking about it, having the kind of core that then gets modified. Because everyone is going to know that I follow a lot of the rules in terms of drone flying. And report back to everyone else. I imagine having a core that can kind of get certified to a big degree is then going to make it a lot easier for everyone else to kind of have something that's at least allowed to fly. I imagine that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a number of things. Airspeed is sort of an umbrella term for a number of things that we're doing. One is, we're building a new sport. We're defining what the competition is and with the locations and all that goes with doing that. We're also building a new form of transportation, which has its own challenges with regulations. Writing that and proving that and being safe. And then also it's making it exciting for fans and making it making it immersive and watchable for the fan base. So yeah, it's a huge three-pronged challenge.
So there's quite a big picture here, isn't there? It's obviously you've got the racing and that kind of F1 fast, exciting side of things of what you're going to do with these drones, but also there's the bigger bubble, and there's obviously an awful lot to think of as that expands out and encapsulates all these other things. Because you're in at ground zero with it, you've got to by default think of and cover all those things, I guess.
Yeah, it's massively choose my words carefully, thinly spread at the very start of these things. I think you can imagine how you're building an F1, you're building a new form of sport, and you're constantly you're constantly iterating at the same time. You're keeping up with the technology too, and great challenge to have. I think what's clear to us now is we're at that phase now where we're starting to design what these races might look like and how how fun we want to make them, and that will inform the engineering on how the next iteration, the next Mark 4, 5, 6, whatever that is, and what they're capable of doing can should echo what the fans want and how we design those races. So yeah, really pivotal. This is a key moment for us now. We're coming into what we consider a sort of season alpha, which is next year. COVID has pushed everything back, but we're coming into a year now where we get to test our thoughts behind it and test what the fans want, test how the what the partners want to put into it, and keep iterating for season beta or the year after.
So I know the sort of the demand thing is like after alpha and stuff, but you were just talking about how you were thinking about designing the races. So I really was interested to know what you envisage as it being at the moment in terms of what would the course look like, how many races would you have in there, and how are you going to do like pit stops, and is it going to be like laps in a certain amount of time or a certain amount of laps and the winner, and especially on like the pit stops, because presumably I think you were talking about sort of 12 to 20 minutes on these quads, so presumably it's like bring them in, change the batteries, get them out again, which brings in whole sorts of interesting strategies about when you're saying there's not a set thing. Like, could you just load something up with batteries and go a bit slower as opposed to go fast with a single set and do pit stops and things like that? What's the sort of vision at the moment for that?
The vision at the moment for that is iteration. So we're, like you say, having battery modules that we then replace, either our octocopters or quadcopters, etc. I mean, we can is constantly iterating for both those. How the pits will look. We want to echo right now what F1 does, but that's not set in stone at all. It might mean the way that we can change batteries or props mean that might change again and iterate. And I kind of keep pushing back to that's what season alpha next year is designed to do. It's designed to go, this isn't working in the way this pit is working, let's change it. Let's make it elevated and make sure that the battery is in a position where we can quickly change it out, and
the props are out of the way.
And just to clarify, season alpha is the sort of 3/4 size unmanned ones that are going to sort of race in the same general idea before you go and actually put people in them.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we will be testing the unmanned smaller Mark 3s.
I'd love to do both. Test fly it from FPV point of view and get in it, because I'm quite light, I'm slim. I reckon I'd make a good little pilot in one of them.
You can sign up on a jockey. I should say that.
Jockey size.
Tony goes in one as well. We
so everyone watching, you can actually sign up on the website to be a pilot.
I already have.
We want to take people from drone operators to esports gamers to professional pilots, commercial pilots, because there's so many crossovers that we can you can utilize. Someone was saying the other day, MotoGP is probably a really good area to hunt for pilots as well for in the future.
So if anyone listening does want to if anyone listening does want to sign up, then they can do at airspeeder.com/pilot-sign-up, which is also in the description or in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast.
Interesting. The bit that really fascinates me about all this is obviously me being me. It's the engineering side and the aerodynamic side. But I did have a thought on this a while back when I was thinking about very fast moving drones. And one thing that that struck me as an interesting idea was, so with helicopters you have your sort of understand the concept of center of thrust, and it's kind of a speed limiting factor of a helicopter is the fact that you've got a retreating blade and an advancing blade in the direction you're going, which is why helicopter blades teeter, is so that the one that's advancing can flap up and essentially dump a load of lift out of one side, so that as they go faster, they don't just sort of tip over to one side. So this is why helicopter blades can flap on a teetering rotor. Now with drones, you've got obviously two blades going in contradicting opposite rotation at the front, but the center of thrust of those are going to be moved outward towards the advancing blade, and you've still got that problem with a retreating blade that's offering less thrust, right? Stick with me for a second.
So rather than have
notes. So the idea was, rather than have a retreating having a teetering blade or something that could teeter and essentially dump thrust from the advancing blade, rather than dumping thrust, the better thing to do would be to create an aerofoil which would actually improve the efficiency of the retreating blades on the if you were rotating inwards from the front. So rather than losing, you should gain efficiency. So you could have small either vortex generators or spoilers that would improve the efficiency on the inward blades if you were running that rotation. If this ever makes it to something, I'm happy to take a small commission. Just putting it out there. I've got loads of ideas like these.
Curry just put up a handwritten sign saying help.
Send help.
No, it's good, honestly, NJ, because like we want to now. I mean, this is another shameless plug. Now, I think I've been brought in. I've worked in autonomous vehicles and in media and worked at Goodwood and Formula E as well, and done some work there. And the science and the tech and the engineering side of thing is huge to get under that, because people need to learn and want to learn about this new technology. And I think it's for us now to start to tell that story as we go and update. And we've hired in a team to start to get under the fingernails and educate, because we're creating those as you say, those new technologies and that new form of mobility, and people want to learn with us. So I think it's in our right to start to educate at the same time, and we're not hold everything back. Right now, we're sort of teetering on the edges of big deals, but we want to start to create content that's going to educate and go into the science a bit.
Oh, so exciting! Very, very. I think it's gonna be such an exponential growth, isn't it? I mean, the second it all, as you say, just gets to that point where everything starts to happen, that's going to be hard to keep a handle. It's going to go mad, I think.
Well, I can see it like Red Bull Air Racing type style. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, a Red Bull Air Race is slightly different. Our we've got a huge purpose here regarding that we're sat on this new form of mobility and electric future mobility and creating that new form of transportation. And we feel that we have a deep story here and take everyone on that journey with us. I think it's for me, it's just a lot deeper in regards to that.
I'm gonna cut in and say so. We asked some of our listeners to send in some questions, and we got some technical questions that I think your colleague James, who I think I've seen in the chat at some point, got some answers for us. So I thought I'd just quickly run through some of them. So one of the questions was, how long do you expect to get in flight time? The sub 2 minutes of mini-quad bracing, or the 30 to 40 minutes of the big camera multi-rotors? I think, as Curry mentioned already, you're looking at getting 12 minutes on a pack, and then swapping it in a pit stop. The second question was, what are the pit stops going to be like? Is it going to be an F1 style quick swap of an arm motor prop if the pilot prangs something, or will it be a case of swapping the pilot from airframe to airframe, more like Formula E? And answer on that one was much more similar to the F1 style of safely replacing individual components during a live pit situation. And the final one we've got here, which I think we've probably already covered, but anyway, in terms of safety, does it have any backup triple redundant control systems, parachutes, airbags, etc.? And the answer was, safety is clearly paramount, and we use next generation collision avoidance technology and redundant systems. Our pilots are elite operators drawn from military, civil, and UAV backgrounds. And And the collision avoidance one is interesting because, I mean, that's kind of a bit of a hot topic at the moment in terms of the ADSB and sort of how that's being integrated into everything at the moment, and electronic conspicuity and all of those kinds of things, which, you know, manned aviation has been trying to solve, at least in the UK, for over a decade, electronic conspicuity, and still kind of struggling. So they've been pushing it onto quads as a way of trying to kind of come to an answer that they can roll out. So this is kind of an interesting intersection between all of those things.
And back to it as well. I think, you know, we're also that testbed platform as well. So, you know, Airspeeder is, you know, the competition, but that, you know, that world of testing technology, testing these things, you know, collision avoidance, battery, you know, improving, you know, battery runaway, everything. I think we also want to be a test bed for this technology as well. So yeah, hopefully we're used that way as well, which we are.
For some reason, I'm visualizing people landing in the pits, and when they take the battery and put the new one in, you get that ESC noise coming on. And then it counts up to about 24 cells or something for the batteries. I don't know why I had that in my head, but
we want that feedback next year. So we want to inject pop culture and that Blade Runner-esque sound that just blips and whatever it is, inject it into it, because that's how we want it to be engaging and fun. So yeah, I mean, the answer regarding pits, I've been asked it quite a few times, is, you know, let's shape it. You know, what is it that people want to see with a new form of motorsport pit lane, and access and everything else. So yeah,
I think changing drivers in the pit or flyers, what would they be? FPV pilots.
Pilots at the moment. Pilots. Yeah.
Yeah, there wouldn't be drivers, would they? No.
Can we get it to do this one? Name that tune, anyone?
Something Africa.
Africa.
Something.
There you go. You got it. Africa by Toto.
There's loads to play around. You know, we want to inject these speeders back into movies and pop culture as well, to be used and utilized that way too. So, you know, it's a big push here to make this a 21st century new sport entertainment proposition as well.
Well, I think if you're getting the F1 teams involved, then they're all in like the Oxford-Cambridge arc, right? So they're close enough to Bedford, I think. So then you got the Airlander as well, the big airship. So you get that. I was going to say, holding some gates, and you fly through those.
We got the Cardington hangars right here. You know, they filmed Batman in there. There's the Airlander. You can fit 2 747s into it. Loads of room in there.
Fly through it. Open up both ends.
Yeah.
Think outside the box as well. We've been thinking outside the box too, and, you know, have a think of how about you have speeders inside, you know, an Unreal Engine world. You create worlds and gates through that, but you have live speeders in that area as well. So, you know, we have the technology to do this. So I think that's, you see a lot of tweets and people saying, flying cars haven't arrived, it's 2020. Well, we have the technology. I'll back to my flying cars thing, but it's, you know, we have the technology to do that, to create a new form of sport inside a gaming engine, but it's real. It's
Yeah, I'm looking
Can you explain? I've sort of lost that a bit. So, Unreal Engine, the gaming engine. What do you mean by sort of the real speeders inside it? Are we talking about the physically modelling them? So it's a sim or
absolutely. You could take live data from the speeders and plot it directly into a gaming engine. There's the sort of untold amounts of possibilities with how you
the VR. For VR, that's going to be amazing. Yeah. I'm already excited. It's not a thing yet, but I'm already excited.
I'm excited to see kind of how it develops. I mean, I'm just thinking back to kind of, at least for us, the early days of the quad racing You know, I remember
Make it around once and you get a clap.
exactly.
Yeah. Hopefully it's more successful than that. Else there'd just be carnage all over the place.
But yeah, on the really early days, I mean, yeah, it was literally a little course through a forest, and it was kind of trying trials because it was, you know, at the point where it wasn't so easy to have so many pilots up at the same time. It was one at a time, doing the time trials, and yeah, if someone completed a course, a lap untouched, then you know it was just applause all around. Well done, the next one, and then the other side of it is then it's you know got so quickly, you know, and you know you watch the feeds at a drone race, and I, at least personally, my brain doesn't keep up
Yeah,
with what
same.
they're doing, and it's actually almost hard to spectate. So to have something that's a lot bigger, so you can watch it line of sight a bit more easily, a bit like the X Class. But the other side of it is to have the bit of meat inside, so that it's always going at a kind of meaty sort of speed instead of digital sort of speed. I think that'll also make it a lot easier to watch, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be biased, but you know, I like the format that we've been running at the mini air show with the team system, because I mean, one of the problems that we always have is that it's, you know, you get 2 minutes out of a mini quad pack, and then that's it, and then you're waiting, you know, for the next race to start with a completely different set of people, and so kind of trying to keep track of who's doing what was always a bit tricky. So with the mini air show format, with the team format, we've got, you know, 10-15 minute races by having a pit lane and getting them to swap out the batteries and fly a few packs at a time. And I don't know, I like it, but I'm biased, so
I like it as well. It's good.
I think there's an interesting thing there as well, Frank, about how quickly the development of sort of flight controllers came on. That they went from, you know, ripping out a Wii remote to very sort of deliberate parts and code for them. And I can just imagine right now there's probably not that many massive motors you can get that spin a 32-inch prop, and the ESCs might be a bit thin on the ground. But as it develops, all sorts of new tech will come out. And of course, everything in the hobby world has pretty much gone towards building pretty small stuff. And when you're like Tony already had it, tuning an X Class is a very different proposition than a fight. Not that you know, Tony, you didn't do any. Than tuning something small. And when you're expanding this out to a 3-seater sofa, this is a whole different ball game again. So it's like a completely different sort of branch that's going to go off on its own little journey and reap some interesting results, no doubt.
I do hope that becomes a class system, so it's all related to different couch sizes. So you can have like your snuggle couch size, snuggle couch class, single seater, lazy boy, of course.
I want to fly a lazy boy. That sounds good.
Lazy boy class, love it.
Yeah. When another thing we were talking about, we were talking a couple of weeks ago. You're saying you've actually got an honest to God test pilot of like fighter jets involved.
Wow.
So
yeah. He's our we've got him under in a cage with
Under the stairs.
in a darkened room. We sort of bring him out.
I've got one of them.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we've got a pilot program that we've begun. There always needs to be the first. We want to scale that up massively next year. We've recently, started to work with Agility Prime, which are a US group that's has quite a lot of pilots from the, as you say, US Air Force and commercial pilots, but also there's quite a lot in there from pilot academies, etc. And we want to get the best of the best. So yeah, I think right now where we are is it's a lot of sim, the sim testing and so forth. We haven't made that jump yet. but we plan to next year, and that's where we get to really test it.
Quaddy Gaz asks, do you fly FPV?
No, I don't. I'll be totally honest with you. I don't. I work a lot around commercial drone operators through media, but I've never flown. No, and I don't plan to fly these either. If you were asking at 25, I would have said, "Get me in there." But when you get a house and a dog and you're getting and you have a
I have a feeling, brother.
Get a bit softer around the middle. So yeah.
I'm still up for it.
Is there anything you can reel at the moment, Stephen, about the control scheme of the manned drone? Because obviously we're thinking, we're pretty handy with the thumbs and can do what's happening. And if I was in a full size one, would it be the case of a yoke stick, a throttle, and perhaps rudder controls on the feet like a helicopter? I sort of thought about it and I thought, well, I don't know what's best. I guess you guys are still going through the iterations of that one as well, are you?
We are. I can't go into much detail into that, but we want it to be, let's say, futuristic. But again, it's working with partners and to develop. I think that's, again, just to be sort of diplomatic here. I think we see ourselves as that test bed for those types of engineers and partners to come on board and give us that secret sauce to produce something that and that is easy as well. It's new form of transportation here, so we want to make it.
I bet they sound awesome, especially when they're turning.
Yeah, they do. We've got a few older videos on the channel. I've just joined the company, so there's going to be sort of a whole fresh batch of content that's going to come through. We want to be producing up to 200 pieces a month video content, so we're going to really ramp. We don't want to rest on our laurels here. We want to produce content from, educate people, show exciting things, get under the bonnet, start showing a bit of the tech off as well. Show us failing as well, show us learning. Again, keep coming back to it. We're designing a new form of transportation here, not just a racing.
I'd make a prediction about that control system, because it's such a mishmash of control of different aircraft, really, a drone, but it's most closely related to a helicopter, especially in the hover. I would say rudder pedals would be a must, and I reckon I was going to say a stick in the middle like a helicopter would be, but then futuristic craft probably going to have a lot of glass cockpit stuff going on. I reckon it's going to be more the Airbus route, side stick. So I reckon side stick and rudder pedals. That's my guess. That's what I'm thinking.
I think
maybe just sitting there with a Tyrannus.
Yeah.
The ones I've seen, a lot of people have been doing that, haven't they? They've been sat in the cockpit with controls they're familiar with to do obviously incredibly crazy and dangerous things. But that's been done already, as mental as it is.
As someone who's flown all kinds of quads, drones, helicopters, manned, unmanned, I think NJ is probably the best person to take a judgment on this one there. So
it's just a guess. Having flown a fair few light aircraft, helicopters, and then all the different models. That's my best guess for now. So we'll remember this episode and we'll find out how close I was at some point, because Stephen's poker face is absolutely amazing. I'm sure he plays poker in his spare time. I'm getting nothing.
They might go with something completely different. What about a single stick which you can twist for your yaw or something?
Oh God,
like
no!
that?
It's the worst thing ever. I hate.
And then a thumb stick on top of the stick as your throttle, just to go completely out there and go. Let's go future. Let's go something no one's seen before.
Or maybe it's all brain controlled. Couple of
that's it.
Couple of receptors on the temples.
Yeah, is it in Oblivion with Tom Cruise's sort of spaceship?
That's the one, yeah.
Sort of that one stick in the center, isn't it?
I quite like that movie. I think it must just be a movie. I thought Oblivion was quite good. I know it's a bit controversial, that one. It didn't it? But I thought it was all right. Maybe it was just the flying stuff in it that I liked, probably, and the fast electric bike. That's probably what did it.
Yeah.
So, what size ESCs and motors are you guys using? You've got any ideas?
ESCs and motors? No, I don't have the ideas there, but I know we're we're iterating all the time. And just to be completely honest with you, I'm media and marketing.
Yeah.
I have a finite amount of knowledge here, but we're always iterating. We want to. I think we talked about it before, but we want to get up to that 200 kph speed next year, and the year after that as well. It's pretty damn rapid. And they do weigh around 120 kgs. It will weigh 120 kgs. So yeah, I mean, with the battery module and that'll iterate as well as technology advances too.
Yeah.
So I expect the specs to constantly change as the graphics do on our website as well.
I'll make sure I keep my my weight down for the testing and flying.
It is a must. Yeah, it's cabbage for 12 months first. It's the prerequisite.
I can do that. I'm there.
Yeah.
I would imagine just to hazard an absolute rough guess, it's going to be the voltage will be in the hundreds, Tony. I would think it's going to be a vast difference to what what we're used to with the little ones.
Could you imagine the arc
cells in
spark when you
series.
plug those together?
Yes, well, you'd be
fun.
able to weld things pretty quickly with that kind of voltage.
But there's a lot of stuff already on your YouTube, isn't there, with showing some of the kind of initial groundwork that laid with the Mark 1 and 2 kind of stuff.
Yeah, Mark 2 early thing. Yeah, a couple year or two ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see kind of the updates on that, and also with like the simulators and are you so with the Alpha League, so that's the unmanned one, is that do you know sort of how far away that might be? Is that going to be kind of like next year, or
I would start to take a strong look at us in February onwards. We're going to do some good content in September, October, where we showcase what our vision is and what these races may look like. So closer to that, and give you more of a visual explanation and a look under the bonnet between now and say Feb next year, and then we kick on with a number of showcases and tests globally next year. So yeah, I think from Feb we're internally between us, we're calling next year our Alpha, where we do all that testing on what it's going to look like, testing the technology, testing what the formats look like, getting feedback. It's a huge market research operation.
yeah, and just like you say, sort of testing the format, because I guess one of the things that FPV courses have kind of gone in different ways as well is like the sort of the big, more open ones that you see with a lot of the X-class racing, compared to say an indoor 3 or 5 inch quad race is going to have a lot more kind of up down
the technical
3D course. Yeah, technical course. So there's it'll be interesting to see kind of how that works out, and look forward to seeing a manned one racing around a bit. That'll be fun to watch.
If you're taking suggestions, how about a grudge match race with those gravity guys that do the jetpacks style? You could take one of those guys on.
No comment.
Rich Browning, right?
That's him.
Yeah.
We love those guys. Look, I think we're sort of all in the same air sports field, just with drone racing and Rebel Air Race and Gravity, and we're the scrappy newcomers to the field. So we have to work with everyone and work with audiences as well, and start to sort of build our own community too. So we kind of want to work with all those guys as well.
Yeah, and I mean the other kind of thing we've always been wrestling with FPV racing is how to get the spectators involved. I mean, like Tony's got his X-Class t-shirt on, and that was kind of one way of trying to have it a bit more of a spectator sport, is just to make them bigger so that you can see them. And then sort of on the other side of things, there's a lot of the bigger events. Then we've got the big screens where we show the FPV feeds, and then people actually see what the quality is like on an FPV feed and go, oh, that's a bit.
I can't see anything.
Yeah. And then on the other end, there's the kind of the more curated broadcast races, where you end up with kind of almost being shot for the camera rather than for the actual people that are there at the time. So I'm kind of interested to see whether you've got any big ideas. I guess the Unreal Engine is one kind of side of things, but whether you've got any ideas of how you're gonna get people involved in it.
It's an avenue. I mean, we're looking at all options. The sort of big crowded events. Do we know that if they're going to come
yeah,
back?
That's true.
So yeah, we and does it fit the Airspeeder vision, or is it going to be broadcast and it's going to have that graphic overlay and it's going to be interactive, or it could be through a Twitch, or could be it could be any iteration, or it could be through, like you say, Unreal Engine or whatever. I think we're at that again. We're back to that phase of testing what they're going to look like and how they'll be received. But there's so many options. It's what makes it cool, I think. We can test it at this stage and see what works. I mean, if you guys have got it up there, but there's if you go to Madison Square Garden, they're building a sphere in Vegas, and there's a sphere that's going to be potentially built in London as well, which is a giant orb that's about the size of, it's about 5 stories tall, which is like a fully 360'd immersive ball that sits in the middle of the field, and you watch it from all angles, and you can it's just have a look for Madison Square Garden sphere. It's that sort of interactive vision that we can kind of that we're sort of mulling, really. But yeah, I think audience or non-audience, we just want to test it as well, but we have to be safe. So just to reiterate the party line, in the first few years, we need to be safe as possible.
And of course, Unreal Engine does integrate perfectly with VR. Just so,
yeah, absolutely does.
Make that happen.
Happy to hear ideas on what it could look like. But yeah, it's there's a lot of opportunities in that space. But yeah, we still want to make it real. We want to make it we don't want to make it too creative. So we want to make this a real sport that people do watch on a potentially a Saturday afternoon on TV or through their device.
I like this comment here.
Yeah, that's very true, Win. Absolutely, we've thought about that too. It's a huge opportunity. Where would the landing pads be? How would we do the pits in regard? And going back to the makeup of the circuit, let's call it the circuit. What does it look like? And
I've seen a rocket land on a boat.
What's the SpaceX boat called? Is it? I think I still love you.
I think yeah. Of course, I still love you. That was it.
Could be that. I think go back to how the circuits will look. Absolutely, when it could they'll look completely different, and if they're in snow, or if they're in the sea, or if they're in the forest or the desert, or
I like the sound of that. They change with the nature, with the that's cool.
We have a virtual leg of the tour as well, where it is in VR.
I like that.
So, but the alpha one, which we're hoping to see February-ish, maybe, hopefully, is that so? Because it's unmanned, is that going to be sort of traditional? There's going to be guys sat somewhere with a radio, and they're going to have FPV goggles, traditional sense, or something more, something like HD at least. I guess you might want to broadcast if you're looking at that.
Traditional line of sight. We you know we're advancing all the time. I can't reiterate that we're constantly building and creating here for them to do bigger and better things constantly. So what I say today, when we get to February, we might have another iteration of how the first season alpha test event might look. But yeah, really.
So I guess the answer to what technologies are you working on right now is yes.
I did mention this to Frank. I can be completely grey around the edges and pretty grey in the middle. So
yeah, just all of them.
Yeah, but we're not vaporware. God, I hate that word. We have people. We have people called Simon and Frank who scratched themselves, who are building these machines in Australia. Actual physical people. We're really scaling at the moment. We're hiring quite a lot despite COVID. We're building quite a lot. We're planning for these events.
Oh man, it's exciting.
Yeah, it's really moving, and I'm sort of we're coming live, and for me and my team are building as well to speak to you guys and the community of FPV drones, air sports in general. It's just really imperative that those things parallel into that season alpha. We start to grow that audience really. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we definitely look forward to hearing about the new team signing up, and we look forward to seeing all the many videos of the tech as it evolves, and hearing about sort of how you get on developing the latest Mark IV and get that all kind of certified, ready for all the teams to start tweaking and flying around the place.
And down the line, I'll put forward one of our more technical mavens forward to get a little bit more under the bonnet here, because I don't feel I've done it justice. But yeah, any questions, honestly, reach out to us and we can do our best to answer them.
Great. It sounds
brilliant.
Sounds good. But yeah, so to remind everyone,
promise us you'll come back in 6 months. Give us an update.
Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to.
There we go. I look forward to hearing more about that. But in the meantime, anyone who's listening, you can sign up to go on the sort of pilot sign up list at airspeeder.com. You can check out their YouTube with all their playlists of over the past few years, and also on Instagram at Airspeeder. So I think everyone should go keep an eye and see what's going on over the next few weeks, few months, and over the next few years.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, cheers for having me, guys. And subscribe if you can, and we're going to be updating quite a lot within the next few months. And then the end of September, that's when you sort of really see the what we've got capable of doing. And yeah, I'll come back in a few months' time and give you another update, and yeah, keep it going. But yeah, thanks.
Great.
That's brilliant.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Yeah.
So, for next week, we have the return of Dominic Clifton, Hydra, with the latest.
Keep away from the stairs, Dom.
Yes, he had an unfortunate incident when he was last meant to be on a few weeks ago, but he's regained the use of his limbs, and Jack will be on with him next week, talking about the H7 and what that new kind of range of boards, and particularly his board, obviously, is going to mean for the Beta Flight, Clean Flight range of flight controllers, and what that kind of software will do with that new hardware. So that will be on next week. Has anyone else got anything they want to add?
Obviously, I've got a million questions, but I'm gonna give Stephen the chance to escape at least for the next 2 months. But yeah, that was great, really good.
Yeah, if there's anybody, down the line, if there's anybody like in Australia that wants to sort of say hello, more than welcome to come down to the factory. I have to speak to the boss first, but I'm sure we can get you having a look at the speeders.
So any listeners in the chat, let us know. We'll get you involved. Yeah,
booking my flight to Australia now.
Yeah.
Please don't cross any county lines at the moment because of lockdown. So just
And Jay's jumping on the private jet now.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone. So this week we have had Stephen. Thank you very much for coming on and talking about the Airspeeder and what you're going to be doing. We have had NJ talking about all his expertise in manned and unmanned aviation. We had Tony with his long history of large multi-rotor racing. And we've had Curry talking about all the technical side of things and generally keeping everything going. And I've been Frank, who's just been kind of reading off the bits of paper that I've been putting together. So thank you all for listening and speak to you all next week. Thank you and bye.
Bye.